Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Good evening.
I'd like to call the regular scheduled meeting of the Edgecombe County Commissioners to order. Mr. Evans, safety instructions, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Good evening to everyone. I'd like to call Mr. Mike Matthews, our Assistant County Manager, come forward and give us our safety instructions for tonight.
Good evening. To provide for the safety of those attending this meeting, I want to give the following instructions in case of an emergency. First, please take a moment to note where your exits are. If an emergency arises that prompts us to evacuate, I ask that everyone exit this room in a quick and orderly manner through one of the doors to your right. Then proceed to the nearest stairwell, directions to which are indicated by the exit signs. Once you exit the buildings, we ask that you safely cross Granville Street, the street that runs beside our building, to our parking lot to be safely away from the building. Our staff will help provide direction and assistance. In the case of a tornado warning, we ask that you exit the room into the hallway where we will remain until it is safe to exit. In the event of an active shooter in the building, we will run if there is an accessible escape path, try to evacuate the premises, hide if you can't evacuate, find a place to hide where you are less likely to be found, lock any doors you can, fight as a last resort, and only if your life is in imminent danger. Our staff will provide assistance on what to do. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Reverend Hines, prayer, please.
Eternal God, our Father, we give thanks for another day. Thank you for allowing us to see June. Thank you for my birthday. Thank you for my anniversary. Thank you for the day that we call today.
Yes.
Thank you for all that you have done. Bless us now that we might partake in this meeting and make decisions that will make our county a better place in which to live as we serve our constituents. Through Christ our Lord, we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. In your packages, you have meetings for May 6th, May 15th, May 20th. If there are no changes, do I have a motion? Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, they are approved. At this time, we have scheduled appointments. Ms. Evans?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. You have tonight the Honorable Miss Carol Allen White, our Clerk of Court, who's here tonight to make appointments. Before she does that for our new Register of Deeds, you'll recall that at your May 6th meeting, in anticipation of the retirement of our former Register of Deeds, that Miss Aisha Windross would be the new Register of Deeds coming in. So you did take action at your May 6th meeting to accept the nomination from the Edgecombe County Democratic Party and to appoint Miss Aisha Windross. So it suggests that tonight that you take another action to affirm that appointment of Miss Windross now that Miss Anderson has retired as of June 1st.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, vote is unanimous that we affirm the vote of Ms. Aisha Windross as Edgecombe County Register of Deeds. Now, would you please come forward? Madam Clerk, thank you for coming.
Good evening, Young.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Good evening. I,
Aisha Windross,
do solemnly
do solemnly
and sincerely
and sincerely
swear
swear
that I will support
that I will support
the
the
Constitution
Constitution
and laws of the United States,
and laws of the United States,
and that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional
and to the constitutional
powers and
powers and
authorities
authorities
which are or may be
which are or may be
established for the government
established for the government
thereof,
thereof,
that I will
that I will
endeavor to support,
endeavor to support,
maintain,
maintain,
and defend
and defend
the Constitution
the Constitution
and the laws of said state,
and the laws of said state,
not inconsistent with the Constitution
not inconsistent with the Constitution
of the United States,
of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge
to the best of my knowledge
and ability,
and ability,
that I will faithfully
that I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
as Register
as
of Deeds.
Register of Deeds.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. I'm gonna, as soon as we swear in our clerk, I'm gonna recess the meeting, and you, if you got any comments, I see that you might have a number of supporters here. We just recess the meeting for a minute. We're gonna swear in our clerk first, okay?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Also, members of the board, as you know, our new executive assistant and your clerk to the board is Ms. Tammy Faison. She's been on staff now for 3 weeks, I guess, and a day today, and she's off to a great start. As you know, we recognize Ms. Mungo, who is our outgoing clerk to the board and executive assistant, who retired. Her last day was on Friday. So we're very happy to have Ms. Faison as part of our team, but it will be necessary and official for you to have her sworn in tonight as Edgecombe County Clerk to the Board of Commissioners. So,
Ms. Faison, would you please come forward?
Here, just raise your right hand. And as I said earlier, you're going to say aye. You just repeat after me.
I, Tammy Faison,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear,
do solemnly and sincerely swear
affirm,
affirm,
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and laws of the United States,
and the laws of the United States,
that I will be faithful
that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of North Carolina
to the state of North Carolina
and to the constitutional
and to the Constitution,
powers
powers,
and authorities
and authority
which are
which are
or may be
or may be
established
established
for the government thereof,
for the government thereof,
that I will endeavor
that I will endeavor
to support,
to support,
maintain,
maintain,
and defend
and defend
the
the
Constitution
Constitution
and laws of said state,
of laws of said state,
not inconsistent with
not inconsistent with
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
to the best of my knowledge
to the best of my knowledge
and ability,
and ability,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge my duties
of my office
of my office
as the clerk to the board.
as the clerk to the board,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
At this time, I'm going to recess the meeting, and if you'd like to take pictures, or did you have any comments, Ms. Windross? You want to make
I
it?
didn't really have any comments. I just want to say thank you for everybody supporting me and giving me this opportunity.
Okay. And if there's anybody want to come, you want to take pictures, or anybody want to come and congratulate you, please do so, okay? We're going to recess for about 5 minutes. Ms. Faison, congratulations to you. Thank you.
She got to be in there. She got to be in there. The old neighbor. Our old neighbor. Okay. Good. Oh, them my folks. That's like me. Come on. In fact, you went that far out? In fact, I had never had it. Half of which had that street to mine. Oh, wow. And the other half. Felt like me, I split everybody, half of mine. And Lil took some of my folks this year.
Who that, what that?
Over there on Old Brattleboro Road. I didn't know they had extended. Folk were mad, came to the poll. I had to vote for him.
They weren't there the last time. We changed districts. When we changed?
Yeah, we did.
No, that was last, that's not true. They weren't there.
Well, they changed it on there because some of them even came to call Gilbert. I mean, what's name? And he said, yeah, we changed it. Some of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ready to have a public hearing, and it will be on one of the most important items of business that this board takes care of, and that is how we spend your public dollar. That's on the budget. So if you'd like to stay, we'd like to have you here, okay, but if you're ready to leave, we'll give you a minute or two.
Sweet, house family support.
I'd like to call the public hearing in order to receive citizen comments relative to the proposed fiscal year 2024-25 Edgecombe County budget. The public hearing is called to order. Mr. Peters, would you please read the public notice?
Yes, sir. Notice is hereby given that the Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners will conduct a public hearing on Monday, June 3rd, 2024 at 6:00 p.m. for the purpose of receiving citizen comments or input on the proposed 2024-2025 fiscal year budget. Citizens interested in reviewing the proposed budget may do so by visiting the Edgecombe County website at www.edgecombecountync.gov. A copy of it will also be available for viewing in the Edgecombe County Manager's Office in the County Administration Building, 201 St. Andrews Street, Suite 402, Tarboro, North Carolina, 27886. Citizens who wish to address the board on this matter may do so at the meeting during the public hearing. Citizens may also submit their comments via email to publiccomments@edgecombeco.com or by mail to Tammy Faison, Clerk to the Board, P.O. Box 10, Tarboro, NC 27886. All written comments received by 5 o'clock p.m. on June 3rd will be read at the meeting. Tammy Faison, Clerk to the Board.
Mr. Evans?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I'd like to review a presentation that I prepared as an overview to the budget that we are presenting for consideration for FY 24-25. So first I want to start to say that all of what we do, especially what we do regarding preparing the budget, is centered upon the foundation of our vision for our county. As some of you in recent meetings have heard me say, just a little over a year ago, we created a new vision statement for our county where Edgecombe County is a historic place that values its citizens and natural resources and creates opportunities where people are proud to live, work, and play for generations to come. We also have a vision for us as an organization, and the way that we look at this is who we need to be as a county organization in order to help our citizens reach the full potential of the vision for our county. The vision for our organization is that Edgecombe County values its employees so that it can be an organization committed to providing exceptional services to our citizens through an innovative, passionate, and creative team devoted to excellence, integrity, and transparency for the continued growth of our county and staff. That vision has led us to what is now our call to action, and that this slide includes the picture of our former county manager, Mr. Lorenzo Carmen, because our call to action is based on a statement that he used to share quite often, and that was Mr. Carmen would say that he was sick and tired of Edgecombe County being at the top and bottom of every bad list. That is, we have the highest this or the lowest that. And he said we need to do something about that. And so we've taken that sentiment from Mr. Carmen and we've turned that into our call to action, which is getting off the list. That is, looking at those lists where we don't sit so favorably in some cases. Still a great county, but still a lot of things that we need to work on. And we're going to focus on those lists. And I bring that up not only because it is important for what we do every single day as the county, but also you'll see it is a major driver in the preparation of the FY25 budget. This is basically the objectives for my presentation today. That is to review our priorities for this budget, to explain revaluation because that is a key part of the FY25 budget preparation process, to give an overview of the proposed budget, to show our investment in getting off the list, as I just mentioned, and to summarize what this budget accomplishes. So first we want to talk about our budget priorities. So I guess now it was almost 2 years ago, this board at their retreat, they had some conversation about what are our priorities. Obviously there are lots of things that we have to do as a county, but what are our priorities? But before we can even get to our priorities, we have to always remind ourselves the reason that we exist. The reason that we exist as a county is to serve our citizens. Though many of the services that we provide may go unnoticed and sometimes overlooked, they are all quite vital for our citizens. And the primary mission of this budget is to ensure the provision of these services in the best way possible. And we provide a number of different services across our many departments, and you'll see the categories of human services, public safety, public works, education, and other county services. So it is important that we always stay focused when we're making recommendations for the budget, making decisions for our budget, and we need to make sure that we're creating a budget that allows us to provide these services in the best way possible. And so our board, knowing that we exist to serve our citizens, our board at that retreat a couple of years ago, after some much discussion and much thought, they put down some priorities, things that we want to make sure that we create as a priority for us as a county organization. And first is employee compensation was one of those priorities. Second is public safety, and third is education and workforce. And then at this past year's retreat back in March, they continued that discussion about their priorities, and they added some additional priorities to those three. And those priorities include employee safety, school safety, and the county line merger. As many of you know, that we are moving towards the process of those 4 schools that are in Rocky Mount on the Edgecombe side that have previously been a part of Nash County Schools. This come fall become part of Edgecombe County School System. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in just a minute. Also, the final priority, and our board had much discussion about this at that retreat, of finding how that we can lower our tax rate. So first I want to talk a little bit about the property tax reval process. So first of all, North Carolina requires counties to conduct countywide revaluation of all real property at least every 8 years to ensure that all properties reflect the current market prices. That's the purpose of us doing it. We have to do it at least every 8 years to try to better align the current value that we have on the books for properties best aligns with the market. And of course, once that revaluation is done, the market doesn't stop. So then there becomes some distance between where we are with the market moving forward. But that's the goal of revaluation. So in that effort, we here in Edgecombe County reviewed over 31,000 parcels and revalued our total tax value of a little over $4.7 billion. That's the total value of all property in Edgecombe County. That excludes motor vehicles. That includes land, structures, personal property, and public utilities. North Carolina law allows exemptions, certain exemptions and deferrals. For example, senior citizens may qualify and veterans may qualify for an exemption where part of the value of their property can be exempted from having to pay taxes. Also, certain qualifying farm production can receive what is called a deferral. Most people know it as PUV, or present use value. And so based on those exemptions and deferrals, of that $4.7 million in value, over $800 million of that falls under either one of those exemptions or a deferral. So that's over $800 million worth of value that we do not tax. So when we do revaluation at least every 8 years, we have to publish what is known as the revenue neutral tax rate. And the revenue neutral tax rate is simply the calculation of the rate, the tax rate, that would generate approximately the same property tax revenue as if revaluation had not taken place after an adjustment for annual growth. That is a formula that the Local Government Commission gives to counties to do that calculation. But that is a calculation that we have to do when we do reval. And so with that in mind, you'll see here that our current tax rate, as you know, is 95 cents. So 95 cents for every $100 in value. Based on that calculation given to us by the Local Government Commission, our revenue neutral would be 0.784 or 78.4 cents for every $100 in value. The proposed tax rate for FY25 is 89 cents, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. So again, our current tax rate is 95 cents, revenue neutral is 78.4, and what is proposed and recommended in this budget is 89 cents. Now, I know that may be a little difficult for you to see from where you're sitting, but I just wanted you to see that there was some thought that went into where we would land on a proposed tax rate based on reval. So we looked at what our values are now based on revaluation. We looked at what our expected collection rate would be. That is, we don't collect all of the property taxes in that first year when it's due, unfortunately. Some taxes are paid late. And so, but we anticipate collecting at least 96% of those property taxes in that first year. Generally, 100% of motor vehicle taxes are collected because, as you know, they're collected along with, through the state of North Carolina, when you renew your license plate on your car. And so based on what we see our projected revenues are, our projected collection rate, you'll see on that far right side the anticipated potential difference or additional that we could collect from what we anticipate to collect this year. And you'll see what's highlighted there is the 89 cent is where we're proposing. Now I want to show just a couple examples, really 3 examples of how this might play out for you, or at least you kind of think about, you know, where your property is, what the value is on your property, and what difference this may make in your tax bill. So using this scenario of a house that is valued $100,000, you'll see that at the current tax rate of $100,000, 95 cents, your annual tax bill is $950 or $79.17 per month. That will be on the existing tax rate, assuming before revaluation, before your new value. Now, in the middle, this is based on, I want to caution you, this is based on an average increase of 32%. Not everybody's property value went up 32%. Some may have gone up more, some may have gone up less, depending on your property, location, that kind of thing. And that how much yours went up is based on the market. That is what similar properties to yours have sold within a window of time. Okay, so it's not us or staff randomly assigning a value to your property. It is based on what the market says your property should be valued. Remember, the purpose of reval is at least every 8 years, whereas the market generally, if the market is doing well, sometimes the market goes down, but generally if the market is doing well, the market is moving away from what we have as the value of your home. So we do reval at least every 8 years to try to realign the value of your home with what the market says your home should be valued. So using the average valuation increase of 32%. So that means a $100,000 house would now be on our books valued at $132,000. At an 89 cent tax rate, that would be $1,175 per year or $97.92 per month. So the difference would be an additional an increase in your tax bill of $225 per year or $18.75 per month. Okay, that's just an example. Your property may be valued less than that or more than that, but that's an example. I'll use a second example. Example number 2 is looking at a home valued at $200,000. Same approach, that $200,000 home at 95 cent tax rate would be $1,900 a year or $158.33 per month. After reval, assuming a 32% increase, that home would then go up in value to $264,000 at an 89 cent tax rate. That tax bill would be $2,350 per year or $195.83 per month. So that would be an increase of $450 per year or $37.50 per month. Okay. Now I just want to quickly show you an example of a car. So let's just assume you have a car that's valued at $25,000. So currently at 95 cent, your annual tax bill would be $237.50. Now, reval does not affect your vehicle. Your vehicle is based on book value, depreciated, and it's a whole system that the state uses to value your car. So reval does not affect the value of your car. So let's take that same value of $25,000 at 89 cent would be $222.50 per year. So that will actually be a decrease for that the tax bill on that car of $15 per year or $1.25 per month. Okay. So I'm sure all of you, if you've looked at your tax bill, you know what your new values are now. You've just been waiting for the board to decide what the tax rate will be so that you can do this similar math for yourself to determine what the impact would be. We show this not only just to give you examples of how this will impact you, but I show this because I want you to know that staff and this board we don't take lightly when we look at, make decisions, us make recommendations, and our board make a decision on what that tax rate should be. We absolutely want to try to minimize that impact to you as much as possible. But going back to the beginning of this presentation, you'll recall that the reason that we exist as a county is to provide services for you, our citizens, through across 18 different departments, over 500 employees, and the cost to do that is ever increasing. So we have to balance us trying to minimize the impact to you, but also making sure that we have what we need so that we can continue to provide those services. So I'm going to give you just an overview of some key points of the proposed FY25 budget. The total budget is $80.6 million. This is a change of over $6 million from the original budget of this current year. The fund balance appropriation is a little over $8 million for this budget, or the proposed budget. I want to talk a little bit about revenues. Our two primary, we have a number of sources of revenue that we use to pay for the cost of providing these services. Our two primary sources of revenue are property tax, we just talked about, which accounts for about 47% of our revenues. And then the second is sales tax. There are, I think, 6 articles of sales tax that the state collects and then gives to counties. All total, they account for about 14% of our budget. Regarding property tax, at an 89-cent tax rate with an anticipated collection rate of 96% for real property and 100% for motor vehicles, projected revenues for FY25 are at $37,581,633. That is what we project that would be available from collecting taxes on the property, real property and motor vehicles. We are budgeting short of that. We're being somewhat conservative in our budgeting, and we're budgeting $37.4 million in property tax. For sales tax, we have seen an increase of just over 4% each year for the last 2 years in sales tax receipts. As you know, we've been through COVID and lots of other things, but the economy has still been somewhat strong and people are still spending, and more people spend, the more that's collected in sales tax that makes its way to counties and towns. We have budgeted an increase in our overall revenue and sales tax of $500,000 for a total of $10,400,000 is what we are budgeting in sales tax revenue for FY25. I do want to make a couple of other notes regarding some of our other revenue streams. One of our other revenue streams is inmate housing at our detention center. Sheriff, he houses inmates there from other counties, sometimes from state facilities. We have in the past housed federal inmates there as well. We would on average house, or he would on average house around 40 federal inmates, and that is, they pay the county for housing those inmates. Some months ago, the sheriff determined that based on vacancies in the detention center and his concern of safety for his staff, and he didn't feel like that at this time he'd be able to continue to house those federal inmates. So we've lost those inmates, or we're no longer keeping those inmates at this time, and because of that we have lost some revenue stream from that. Lost some expenses, but lost some revenue streams as well. So you'll see that in FY23 we collected a little over $1.5 million in revenue from housing those federal inmates. We still do, or he still does, house inmates from other counties and from state facilities. We're projecting that revenue to be around $350,000 in the current year by the time we get to the end of this fiscal year, the end of this month. We have budgeted $200,000 in FY25. Another note regarding another one of our revenue streams is in emergency medical services. And those are our rescue squads, our ambulances, and of course we bill for that service, bill private insurance, Medicaid. Sometimes there are folks who are uninsured and they're billed directly. Some are not able to pay. We have seen some decline in that revenue stream since FY23, whereas we collected a little over $3.6 million in FY23 last fiscal year. This year it looks like we will land right at $3 million. We are budgeting $2.9 million in FY25. I think some of that is attributed to a little bit of decrease in call volume, not a lot, but it is always difficult to tell of those who are transported their revenue source. If it's Medicaid, Medicaid usually pays less than private insurance, or if they have insurance at all. But nevertheless, it is a service that we continue to provide, and I think we do a great job of that. Third note about other revenues is investment income. I put that in parentheses, interest. County, we do not have any investments other than we receive interest on funds that are held in accounts that we have. We project to receive a little over $1.5 million in interest from interest revenue in the current fiscal year. We are cautiously preparing for an anticipated interest rate cuts. We know that there's been a lot of conversation about the Fed's cutting interest rates, and if so, that will affect our interest income. So we are conservatively budgeting in revenue $500,000 in FY25. So those are certainly not all of our revenue streams, some of our major ones, and a few notes I wanted to make. Now I want to talk about expenditures. Personnel is our biggest expenditure by far. Certainly, as you understand, going back to that earlier slide, we are here to provide services to our citizens, and we primarily do that through the people that we employ. And so it is critical for us as a county to have a compensation plan that can compete. We have faced workforce challenges just like every other employer, whether it be public or private employer. But we can't serve you, our citizens, without people. Our staff is our greatest asset, but is also our greatest expense. We have experienced across the organization as high as 15% vacancy. There have been a few months there went above 15%. In some departments, the vacancy rate has been much higher than 15%. Salaries for the majority of our staff, we did a pay study about a year ago, and we had a company to come in and do a market study for us, and it determined that salaries for the majority of our staff were 25% behind our labor competition. That's primarily other counties and towns. So we were far off the mark in being competitive in order to hire and to retain employees so that we can provide those services to our citizens. So we have to be able to compete as best as we can, as best as we can afford. So we do that through trying to increase our salary and benefits in order to attract and retain the staff that we need to provide those services. So in order to try to get a more competitive compensation plan, at the end of last fiscal year, we overhauled our compensation plan and implemented it fully in this current fiscal year. As I mentioned, a market study was completed. We updated and restructured our compensation plan. Pay scales were elevated in that process, and existing staff received increases. So now we're looking at what we're calling phase 2 of the overhaul of our compensation plan. The FY25 budget does include a 3% cost of living increase and a 2% market increase for a total of 5% increase for all of our existing staff. This does not further raise our pay scale or our compensation scale any further than it was last year, but what it does, it will give 5% increases for existing staff if the budget is approved. Another strategy that we're employing in this budget to help retain staff is that we have what is called longevity. So, and to encourage our employees to come and work for us and then stay with us, if an employee stays at least 5 years, they will start to get longevity. It is a once a year bonus, if you will. It's based on a percentage of their salary. So one of the things, and then every 5 years, or the bands go up a percentage. So up to 25 years, those percentages go up. So this budget, FY25 budget, does include a 0.5 percentage point increase for each of those longevity steps. So whereas the first one I believe is 2.5%, that will then go to 3%, 3.5, so on and so forth. So that is included in this budget as well. All in the effort of trying to be more competitive to attract and retain staff. Our health and wellness program, which is a considerable expense for us as a county, is important for all of our employees. We are seeing some increases in our health insurance costs. We are self-insured, therefore our costs are driven by our claims. We're not in a pool with other counties. It is totally driven by the claims within our employees and beneficiaries or dependents that are on our insurance. Due to an increase in claims in the last 2 years, we are increasing our premiums by 6%. We are still continuing other health benefits. There are no changes in this. We are continuing these. We offer a high deductible plan with a health savings account, which is for those employees who select that healthcare option. The county gives them $750 in their health savings account. They can add to that if they like. We're continuing to offer dental and vision. We provide an annual screening for all of our employees, and for those who participate, they receive a $50 premium waiver. Our premium is actually $50 per employee per month, but if that employee participates in our annual health screening, then that premium is waived. We also offer, we will continue to offer, we've been offering this for a few years now, chronic disease management programs. We offer a program for employees who are diabetic, and it helps them to receive some incentives and help them to better manage their diabetes. We also have a new weight management program for those employees who are at a body mass index of 40 or greater, can participate in that program as well. We will continue to offer a wellness incentive that we've been offering for a number of years now, and that is for every employee that meets what is called a waist circumference standard, or if they improve on their weight or waist by 5% from the previous year, they receive a $250 wellness cash incentive that goes to the employees. That's been popular, and we've had a lot of employees that have worked hard to get that incentive. We tried to work very hard not to add any positions unless we feel like is absolutely necessary. There are 3 positions that are added in this budget. The first one is adding a deputy elections director. This is to improve the management structure of that department and to better ensure continuity of operations for this very critical county function. We're also adding in the budget 2 firefighter positions in emergency services office. This is to provide supplemental fire protection and first responder services at Kingsborough Business Park. This funding is being complemented by state grant funds that we have already received to purchase fire trucks and other equipment. Another big category for us in our budget is capital outlay. Capital is anything that's $5,000 or more and lasts for at least a year. It is considered a capital purchase. So as an overview of our capital outlay that's built in the FY25 budget, it includes a total capital outlay for county operations of $1,163,019. When I say for county operations, there is capital funding that we give to the schools and other outside agencies. This is capital funding for our county's operation. This includes new project funding of a little over $1 million. And it also includes, there were some projects budgeted in the current year that either won't be completed or the vehicle has been ordered but won't show up before the end of the fiscal year. So we are rolling those forward into the FY25 budget. Just to show you by category, our planned expenditures and capital outlay, you'll see in equipment is just under $110,000, vehicles $596,000, buildings and grounds $457,000. I do want to add as a note that, and I know it has been something that this board has been concerned about, interested in, our sheriff and the public as well. We've had a lot of discussion over the last few years about our sheriff getting the vehicles that he and his team need. Just as a reminder, some of you may have heard in previous meetings, our board allocated $1 million several months ago to purchase 18 new vehicles for the sheriff's office. The purchase has been made. We're waiting for radio equipment to go in those vehicles so that he can deploy those new vehicles. That is a significant step for us in moving forward, sort of getting ahead of the 8 ball, if you will, and the needs that the sheriff has for good vehicles and dependable vehicles they have out on the road. This budget for FY25 includes $305,000 for the purchase of 4 to 5 new vehicles in the sheriff's office. The final amount would depend on the type of vehicle that's purchased. The FY25 budget also includes $124,711 for debt service for sheriff's vehicles that were purchased back in FY23. We borrowed some money to purchase vehicles for the sheriff then. We still have debt service on that. We have what we refer to as enterprise funds. Enterprise funds are simply those activities that a county will embark on that the goal is for those funds to be self-sustaining by fees or service charges that are collected for that particular service. And the goal is to not rely on tax revenue to provide that service. Our two enterprises are solid waste, or we have a landfill out on Colonial Road. We have 9 convenience sites. And you'll see there that note that the cost of operating solid waste continues to exceed the revenues that we generate. The contract to transport and dispose of that solid waste to the regional landfill. We have a construction and demolition landfill here in the county on Colonial Road, but we have to send what they call municipal solid waste, or household trash, has to be transported to a regional landfill in Bertie County. So we have to pay both the tipping fee to put it in that landfill as well as the cost to transport it there. And the cost of that has gone up, and we just got notice that cost is going up a little over 5%. Therefore, we propose to increase the MSW tipping fee from $71 per ton to $75 per ton, and in C and D from $55 to $57 per ton. Total budget for solid waste is $3.8 million. In water and sewer, we have over 5,000 customers, I believe. It's over 6,000 customers. Our revenues continue to exceed, to cover our expenditures in water and sewer. We're grateful for that. We do not anticipate an increase from our 2 suppliers, which are City of Rocky Mount and Town of Tarboro. At this point, no rate increase is proposed. Total budget in water and sewer is a little over $5.6 million. So there are a lot of things that we do to provide services, that we provide those directly through one of our 18 departments, but there are a number of services that we provide through our partners that are outside agencies. So we provide funding to a number of outside agencies. We get requests from those outside agencies every year at budget time. This year, the request total a little over almost $16.5 million. Of course, we can't always meet all of the requests that we receive from our outside agencies. The total budgeted for outside agencies in FY25 is $15,579,124. This is an increase of a little over $1 million from this current year. We have a number of outside agencies that we fund. I want to show you our top five being not top 5 and doing the best job. They all do a great job, but top 5 and based on the amount of funding that they receive. You'll see by far the largest is Edgecombe County Schools at just under $11.5 million. Edgecombe Community College, $2.7 million. Caroline's Gateway Partnership, a little over $300,000. Nash County Schools, a little over $500,000. Edgecombe County Memorial Library, $376,600. Those are our top 5 largest recipients of funds from the county. I mentioned earlier about the county line merger. Again, this is where those 4 schools that are on the Edgecombe side of Rocky Mount, those students currently go to Nash County Schools. The school district line is going to be redrawn, is going to be moved to the county line. That's why it's called a county line merger. And so those 4 school buildings will now this fall become part of Edgecombe County School System. This fall, kindergarten through 9th grade, those students will now be a part of Edgecombe County Public Schools. Many of them will go to the same school that they went to, one of those 4 schools there in Rocky Mount. The 9th graders that normally would have gone to Rocky Mount High School will be going, now the plan is for them to go to North Edgecombe. The students that are already in high school, those now rising 10th through 12th graders, have been given the option that they can stay where they started. So if they started at Rocky Mount High School, they can stay there if they like. So both the school systems are continuing to work together to determine exactly how many students are going to stay in Nash County Schools and how many are going to come over. each year we will move that up one more grade. So 10th grade next year, 11th, 12th, so on and so forth. Previously, a little over $1.6 million that was going to Nash County schools because of those Edgecombe students live in Edgecombe County but go to Nash County schools. That money will be now coming back or being budgeted to Edgecombe schools, a little over $1.6 million. Also in this budget, there's an additional $500,000 budgeted to Edgecombe County Public Schools to help increase their teacher supplements and other personnel increases. We've also budgeted an additional $450,000 for capital in FY25. As you'll recall back and when I showed you the slides about our priorities, one of the priorities was safety. And so regarding employee safety, unfortunately, we who, work in public buildings, as many people do, unfortunately, we live in a time now we have to be more concerned about our safety than we've had in years past. And it's our concern for our staff working in our buildings as well, working here at the county. So in FY25 budget, it does include $173,000 to work with our sheriff to pay off-duty deputies to provide security in some of our county buildings. That certainly is not enough to provide, 5-day-a-week coverage in all of our main buildings, but it will certainly be a step in the right direction, we believe. Also a concern as it relates to safety that our board has had, and it was sort of highlighted in our last joint meeting with Edgecombe County School System, is school safety. As you know, many schools have officers or deputies in their schools. They refer to them as school resource officers. And again, unfortunately, we're living in a time where we have to be very concerned about our students' safety. That has been something that our Sheriff Atkinson, has elevated in meetings before as a concern that he has, and certainly I'm sure all of you have that concern as well. So our board has talked about providing some additional funding, and I believe I'm correct in speaking when I say that our board is on the ready to provide some additional funding. We have not yet included anything in FY25 budget yet because we, as most counties, at least that I'm aware of, we're waiting to see if the state will provide any additional funding. Currently, school resource officers are paid by funding that's received by the school system from the state. And that's not something that counties or towns have typically funded. So we're going to wait to see if the state provides any additional funding for more school resource officers. And if not, I believe our board will be ready to come back and discuss that again. I said near the beginning, we talked about how Mr. Carmen inspired us to work hard to get off those lists. And so we're looking at ways of how in this FY25 budget we can invest in our future with that call to action in mind. So one of the things that we have done in a review of the list where we find ourselves at the top and bottom of, Mr. Carmen used to speak of, we've identified 4 focus areas. Those 4 focus areas are affordable housing, health equity, education and workforce, and youth and families. Some of you who've attended recent meetings will know that our board, this board appointed some new advisory boards under each of these 4 focus areas, so we'll be working on that. We believe that if we create better support structures for those organizations that are already doing good work in these 4 focus areas and strategically invest our resources, we believe that over time, if we sustain that we will get off the list. And so with that in mind, one of the things that we're doing is when we talked about outside agency funding, it was a little over $16 million requested. We budgeted a little over $15 million. Most of that we are required to provide. That is usually by some state statute. For example, state law requires counties to provide schools for operating funding as well as capital funding. It requires us to provide funding for community college. In some cases, we are required to provide funding by some interagency agreement that we have. For example, we have made an agreement with the town of Tarboro to provide funding for Edgecombe County Memorial Library. But then we do have some choices on some funding that we provide. And so in the FY25 budget, it is proposed that $200,000 be set aside to fund efforts that we believe will help us to get off the list. We have already solicited proposals from agencies. We received, I think it was 24 proposals These are all organizations that are doing good work. We will evaluate those proposals to determine which ones we believe will help us best to get off the list in one of these 4 categories, and we'll come back and make a recommendation to the board of funding up to $25,000 for those, for a total allocation of $200,000. Another initiative that we started this current year that we will continue in FY25 is what we refer to as Edgecombe Works. We've created a scholarship program. It's called the Promise Program that assists students in going to the community college. We're happy to say that just under 100 students have been assisted this current year to go to school to get some certification that they need to help them get employed. It also includes a program that's referred to Earn As You Learn that will help you pay for tuition, books, and fees to be able to go and get some work-related credential while you're still working. We're using that to help train our existing staff as well. We have the Edgecombe Works Academy. This is where classes are stacked, is what they call in the community college. And it's a total of 96 hours, and the students that complete that will come out with a very aggressive work-related credential that will help them in their job-related skills. We budgeted some money for some of our own staff to participate in that to improve their skills, as well as we hope will help to retain them as employees. And then Working Edge is a number of programs primarily focused at high school students that will include industry-recognized skill development, apprenticeships, career exploration, entrepreneurship training, and youth-focused Citizens Academy. And that's budgeted this year and also included in FY25. So what have we accomplished? What do we believe we're accomplishing in this budget as it is presented? Well, first of all, the biggest thing is that we are reducing our tax rate. If the budget is adopted as presented, we'll be reducing our tax rate from 95 cents to 89 cents. You will be addressing some critical capital needs that we have with the county as well as with some of our outside agencies like the school system, for example. We'll be improving employee compensation. We'll be investing in our efforts to get off the list, and we'll be addressing those key priorities that we talked about at the beginning of this presentation. So I will leave that slide up for a minute. You can see the budget, each of the budget ordinances on our website, as well as what's called my budget message. It's not in presentation form like this, but is more of a narrative. You're welcome to go to our website to see that and read through it. I will note that the board's intent is certainly to hear your feedback on the proposed budget tonight, but the board's intent is not to adopt the budget tonight. The board, as they have in previous years, would like to have time to hear your feedback and then to go back, and if they feel like there are any changes that they want to make to the budget, to give ourselves time to do that. Right now, we are planning to have another meeting this month, June 25th at 6 p.m., where the board plans to adopt the budget at this time. So thank you to the board, and happy to answer questions that y'all have or anyone else.
Well, what we'll do now, we'll call for public comments, and if there are any questions, we'll address them to you. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, if there's anybody here that'd like to come forward and address the board, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Is anybody here to speak? Please come forward, sir, and state your name and address.
Y'all know me, I used to be the Kansas landfill.
Okay.
Well, I always believe when you lowered the tax rate, and you did from that 95 to 89, but you didn't lower people's pocket tax. Mine went up $200. When I feel lower, so mine being $1,800, $1,900, it ought to be $1,500 if you go down. I mean, I can go down to 75% if you want me to go down, and then get raise you to a house another $100,000, and then you pay more. If you lower something, you got to go down on the price. I mean, I can go down 89, but you still paying more money. You know, I agree with what you're saying, but a lot of this is, you know, when I was a director, you know that my truck driver made $12 an hour. I made $48,000. Now, Glory made $68,000. My truck driver made $23,000, and I come here and beg for money. You didn't have nothing for me, but now you get giving it away. I didn't never, like I said, Glory made $68,000 and never I hired a contractor to haul nothing for me. I got it done. You can ask him. I got it done myself. Now they're paying that kind of money. Now you raise my tax, and I'm living on the same fixed income that I was living on when I was paying the $1,800. Now you're gonna go up about $300 on my tax. I don't think you're right. I don't. Because I got to live on the same money every year. You can't keep robbing from that what I'm living on to pay for somebody else that don't want to work. You say Edgecombe County, you say when Sarah Lee burned out, QVC burned out. 80% of the people weren't even from Edgecombe County. They had to get outside to even get the work done. About 80%. Because nobody in Edgecombe County would work. And you talking about when people come here, who gonna come here and paying 89 cents on your property tax that my house in Greenwood would be worth 2 times what I'm getting for it now in Edgecombe County because nobody don't want it. Nobody don't want to come to Edgecombe County, and I don't blame them. The only reason I'm here because I've been here all my life. So I think you need to think about the 89, the people who live in your county and work in your county and support your county. So I rob them from them. Let them live a little bit too. And I'm not being ugly. And I done my part when I was here. When I got up, I went to work. And work needs to be done. If I had 20 cans, I didn't go home till I got them 20 cans done. That ain't done no more. And I think y'all need to think about that before you took robbing from the people who working in your county. If because you coming down on the tax 89 cents, you ain't helping nobody. You hurt everybody. That's all I got to say. But yeah, think about what you're doing.
Thank you for your comments,
Give
sir.
your name and address for the record.
Larry Moore, 5624 NC 33 East.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Anybody else, please, would like to come forward and speak? Is there anybody here to speak? Hearing none, we're going to just adjourn the public hearing. We will be taking action. The board will consider your comments. We will be taking action at, when is that meeting? Have we scheduled?
June 25th at 6 p.m.
June 26th at 6 p.m.
25th.
25th, this is when
Yes,
we'll
sir.
make the final decision on whether the budget will stand as Mr. Evans has presented it.
Yes, sir.
Next is public petitions. Is there anybody here that would like to come forward and state the name and address for the public record and speak to the board? Is there anybody here? I close it. I adjourn the public hearing. The public hearing is adjourned. Okay.
Good evening. Camus Dancy II, P.O. Box 1391 Pine Tops. Physical address 127 Midway Lane, Tarboro, North Carolina. I love the story because I stay 3 miles out of Pine Top and 7 miles out of Tarboro. But Mr. Manager, I heard your presentation. When it comes to the sheriff office, I have been attending these meetings since the 90s. However, I have been attending for the past around 7 years fighting for salaries and vehicles for the sheriff office. It appears to me that the monies the sheriff office brought in for federal inmates were spread across the board, but the sheriff, myself, and 1 or 2 more have been fighting for salaries and vehicles, and that should not have taken this long. The sheriff office consists of public safety, school safety, and more. These guys are damn good at what they do, and they cover the event center in Rocky Mount and other entities that request them. They are highly requested, not even just in Edgecombe and Nash County, but when things happen out of the county. Lastly, well, that ain't last. If any of you specialize in certain areas and has a proven track record, you need to support each other. Say, for instance, you're in finance or been to training and can add something to the board. And lastly, as a lifelong Democrat, 61 years old today, I am proud to be here to support the first black register of deeds. I have seen this county come a long ways when I started out being active in my early 20s and know all of y'all. So thank you for allowing me to speak. Didn't come to speak, tell people I don't come to speak, but as I am in a meeting, something triggered me. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Oh, no, birthday, it's Christmas Day.
Oh, I thought you said your birthday was today.
Fast in the day. Like
I love today, I think it's.
Is there anybody else to speak at public petitions? Ms. Evans, were there any,
No, sir.
submitted? Hearing none, we'll adjourn the public petition portion of this meeting. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we would want to, I'm gonna request a motion to recess the regular Board of Commissioners meeting and reconvene as Board of Equalization and Review. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor? Let it be known by voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, we are now sitting as the Board of Equalization and Review. This is the time when we, at the time of the year, we review the appeals that any of our citizens has made as relates to their property. I'll call the meeting to order. Ms. Evans?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'll call for Ms. Teresa Lewis, our tax administrator, to lead us through the remaining appeals that you have. before.
Tell us where we are and why we're here, okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, we met previously on May 20th and heard around 28 appeals. And there were several that we received late information either that day during the meeting or previously before, Friday before the meeting. So there were a few that we had to go back and review. We have done that, and it's my understanding from each taxpayer that they are consenting to our values that we made adjustments to, with the exception of the 3 that were no changed from the tax representative that we met virtually with. The information that we went through, the details, I can read them for you guys, or for the sake of time, I can just go through the recommendations for you.
Do we actually have people that are gonna come here today?
No, sir.
We don't, okay.
No, sir. This is all consent.
Everything is considered. Go
Yes,
ahead.
sir.
Go ahead with,
The address, I'm gonna state the address for the record and the value that I'm recommending, and then you can make the motion from there. How's that? Okay. All right, so the appellate 10 and 11, Larry and Anita Harris, property 301 North 9th Street, Pine Tops. I recommend a value of $653,567.
is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, that is approved.
All right. Larry and Anita Harris, 305 Crestwood Circle, Pine Tops. Recommend a value of $16,500.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, that is approved.
Appellate number 14, Al and Nancy Pridgeon, Woodsland on Meadowbrook Road, Rocky Mount. Recommend a value of $75,350.
Is there a mo-
So moved.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye. Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
Appellate number 18, Legacy LLC. Property located at 115 Northeast Main Street, Rocky Mount. Recommended value is $45,520.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
Appellate number 19, Legacy LLC. Property is located at 127 through 129 Northeast Main Street, Rocky Mount. Recommended value is $65,802.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
Appellate number 20 is DT Retail Properties LLC. Property address is 107 River Oaks Drive, Tarboro. Recommended value is $1,679,350.
Motion. Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
Appellate number 21, Art Mortgage Borrow Propco 2013 LLC. Property address is 200 Sara Lee Drive, Tarboro. Recommended value is $9,569,011.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
Appellate number 22, Koki Investors LLC. Property is located on Parish Court, Rocky Mount. Recommended value is $3,885,682.
Motion. Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
Appellate number 23, Tarboro Propco LLC. Property location is 3210 Western Boulevard, Tarboro. Recommended value is $4,151,683.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
Appellate number 24, Leland Group LLC. Property location 1103 St. Patrick Street, Tarboro. Recommended value is $145,678.
Motion.
So moved. Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
Appellate number 25, Leland Group LLC. Property location 208 East Battle Avenue, Tarboro, North Carolina. Recommended value is $134,058.
Motion.
So moved.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
And the last one, and I'm sorry I left that appellate number. It's number 27. Whitaker's Revitalization and Preserve, 103 East Main Street, Whitaker's. I'm recommending a value of $2,000.
So moved.
Second.
Question? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved.
Did we-
You had a number 28 up there.
Did we
You
not
missed-
need to vote on that because we
Did you
changed the
miss-
square footage?
28, we voted on the day of May 20th, so that's why I left that there and I forgot to remove number 28. The only thing we need to do now
We did.
is vote on our resolution to adopt these values as final for this year. And I'll be glad to read it.
Read the resolution.
Okay. Whereas in compliance with the requirements of North Carolina General Statutes 105-285 and 105-287, all property, real and personal, subject to taxation in Edgecombe County has been listed for ad valorem tax purposes as of January 1, 2024, and appraised or reappraised by actual appraisal at its true value in money in accordance with the Machinery Act of 1971 as amended, Chapter 105, General Statutes of North Carolina. And whereas the real and personal property appraisals and tax abstracts have been examined by the county assessor generally to ascertain that the same scale of value have been used in all townships in the county, and whereas the assessment ratio has been abolished statewide, and the appraised value of property must be used at its tax value on real and personal property subject to taxation in the county as provided in North Carolina General Statute 105-283. And whereas the Edgecombe County Board of Equalization and Review, after due notice as required by law, duly commenced in its meeting on April 1st, 2024, and after taking and subscribing to the oath required by law, proceeded with the dispatch of its duties. And whereas the said Board of Equalization and Review has heard and given due consideration to all complaints and appeals that have come to its attention from the taxpayers who own or control taxable property assessed for taxation in Edgecombe County with respect to the valuation of such property or the property of others. And whereas the said board has examined and reviewed the tax list of each township for the current year, has listed and assessed all real and personal property subject to taxation in the county, which had been omitted from said list and brought to its attention, has corrected all errors brought to its attention in the name of the persons subject to action to be taken on pending appeals to this board in description of property and its assessment and valuation for all taxable property appearing on said list. This said board has increased or decreased or left unchanged the appraised evaluations. Now therefore be it resolved by the Edgecombe County Board of Equalization and Review that all changes in names, description, or valuations have been said by board shall be reflected upon the tax records of the county by correction, rebate, or additional charge, and that when all such charges have been given effect upon the tax records and the scrolls or tax books have been checked, totaled, and balanced, the same shall be the same are hereby declared to be permanent tax list and assessment roll for Edgecombe County for the year 2024, subject to the provisions of Chapter 105 of the General Statutes of North Carolina, the third day of June 2024.
Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is adopted. Now, this is the time we adjourn.
Yes, sir.
Is there any other business to come before the Board of Equalization and Review?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Now we are now standing as the Board of County Commissioners.
Yes, sir.
Now, other business.
Next, you have a number of budget amendments. Budget amendments numbers 1 through 14 require your approval. For sake of time, I won't go through those, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Based on your review of those budgets, any questions reference to any budget that Mr. Evans has stated? Any amendment? Hearing none, that was numbers 1 through what, Mr. Evans?
14.
Is there a motion to?
Sorry,
Oh,
I had one question.
Go ahead, Mr. Thorne.
The inmate deposit, is that, that's
What number is that?
14, the last one. The pay tell,
Yes. What's
That's
your-
inmate money, that's inmate money.
Yes, sir. It's a service that the inmates
Yeah.
can,
so
Pay
what,
for,
and we get a percentage of that.
and so that's gone up?
Yes, that's additional revenue that's been received, yes, sir.
any other question?
That's a large amount of phone calls.
If you're locked up, you try to make a lot.
I know that's right.
I mean, we budgeted $175,000, we're increasing it $275,000 to $450,000.
The cost of the calls has gone up substantially.
And we don't pay that. They.
Those numbers just seemed kind of crazy.
Is that,
Family plate pay that. I mean, call me.
you, well, you got additional?
I was just checking to see if she had anything she wanted to add to that. That is additional revenue.
$3 call is like $9.
Consistently, we had to, this one, then account, we had to add some to last year. Maybe we need to revisit the original budgets for those to make sure we're including enough for the activity.
Inmates are going down, inmate numbers are down significantly down for the county jail. Yeah, and then we're increasing it 200%.
Yeah. And to her point, I was under budgeted to start with.
Right.
Sorry. I wanted some clarification about what was going on there.
Sure, it's a good question.
Any other questions? Did I get I got the motion?
Yes.
Did I get a second on it?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, they are approved. Moving on.
Next, Mr. Chairman, is regarding Town of Macclesfield's application for fireworks, July 4th fireworks. I recommend that you approve.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Next.
Next is regarding grant award for Kingsborough Phase 2 sewer. As we've talked about before, we received funding offer from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality of a grant award to Kingsborough Industrial Park Phase 2 sewer extension project in the amount of $13,774,000. Project will serve to increase sewer capacity at Kingsborough Industrial Park from 1.2 million gallons per day to 5 million gallons per day. I do want to point out, as we've been talking about this for some time, this is from a state General Assembly appropriation that's coming through the Department of Environmental Quality. The original appropriation is $14.2 million. We're only getting 13.7 because DEQ is now holding back 3%. think it's 3% for their administrative costs. So the General Assembly's
They
appropriation.
charging now for, when grants come through. they-
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
so, which I wanted to clarify that because we've been, announcing we're happy to get the $14.2 million, but it's actually 13.7. But I do recommend that you approve the enclosed resolution as presented.
Motion,
Second.
questions? All in favor, let it be known by voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, hearing none, it is approved. Next.
For item D, the Home and Community Care Block Grant, or HCCBG, is composed of funding for in-home and community-based services for older adults. The county is charged with developing and implementing a funding plan locally that meets the needs of older adults in our county with funds provided through HCCBG. The proposed funding plan is submitted based on the recommendations from the Edgecombe County HCCBG Committee. The committee met in April to review the submitted funding proposals. I recommend that you approve the FY25 HCCBG funding plan, as well as the agreement with Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government for the provision of these county-based aging services.
Motion,
I so move.
second.
Second.
Questions?
Question.
Go ahead.
I was asked, what do you consider an older adult?
I think it's 6.
16.
Oh, okay. I need to go back and tell that lady I was wrong on that age then. Okay.
Any other questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye. Aye. All opposed, hearing none, it is approved. Next.
Item E is regarding a school capital reserve project ordinance. As you will recall, a percentage of revenues received from Articles 40 and 42 sales tax must be used for school capital expenses. We use part of those funds to pay school-related debt service, as well as to cover annual capital allocations for Edgecombe County schools. The balance of what is collected is being transferred to a school capital reserve fund to be used as requested by the school system. Currently, that transfer is done by a budget amendment in the current year. Being that these funds, if not used in the current year, need to roll forward for future use, the attached school capital reserve project ordinance is presented for your consideration. This will then allow this reserve of accumulated funds to exist across fiscal years. I recommend that you approve the school capital reserve project ordinance as presented.
Motion,
So move. Second.
questions?
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I remember Ms. Sharp was talking about this, that we needed to, we should control, her recommendation is that we should control those funds and have them make proposals to us. Does that take that ability away from us?
No, this just allows us to put it in that reserve. They still have to request the use of those funds. We've had some discussions, some of the meetings, but they've not requested use of those funds yet.
So it still has to come before us to disperse those funds?
Yes. Now,
So it's still in our bank account, not the school system's?
that's correct. Now, it will be up to the board as to whether you actually want it to come before the full board for a vote, if you want it to be presented, and however the board wants to handle that. They've talked about a few projects, how they plan to use it, but they've not actually requested
I
those
think we
funds.
were asking to give a priority on that project. I think Mr. Boswell, me, and Mr. Evans have been meeting with the administrative leadership from the school, and we have asked for that, for the use of that money.
Yeah, I just think particularly as we look at the needs, and I think the state's here doing a needs assessment for all of our school systems and all of that. We shouldn't give them all this money to spend if we don't know where it's gonna go.
And I think that's one of the things that the reasons they have not asked for, okay, is that they are waiting on the needs assessment. This is my understanding, they're waiting on the needs assessment.
But yes, we're still holding those funds.
That was my clarification, just to make sure.
Any other questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. 1 minute, Ms. Evans, I'll let you handle that. Go ahead.
Sure. As you know, you created an advisory board for each of our 4 focus areas as it relates to getting off the list. We do have an additional appointment for the Youth and Families Advisory Board, Ms. Jada Smith. She will be one of the 2 youth representatives recommended for appointment. Also for the Affordable Housing Advisory Board, Mr. Julius Moody, who works for Nash Edgecombe Wilson Community Action Agency to serve on affordable housing. Recommend those 2 appointments.
Motion?
So move.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, they are appointed.
The Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Board, Ms. Stephanie Walker, is recommended for reappointment.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, they are appointed.
As you'll recall from the presentation from a representative from Trillium a few months ago, we have two appointments. We have two seats to appoint on their Regional Advisory Board. Commissioner Harris is representing Board of Commissioners on that board. We have a second seat. Needs to be, it's a list of possible appointees. One of those is an attorney that works in some field related to human services. So we're recommending Ms. Samika Bennerman. She is our in-house attorney at Social Services. She's a child support attorney, and recommend her appointment.
So moved. Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, she is appointed. Go ahead.
Also, which was added from your earlier agenda packet, the Edgecombe Wilson Community Action Agency Board, Ms. Tyronda Whitaker, she is the Regional Ombudsman for the Upper Coastal Plain Council of Government. Recommend her appointment.
Motion?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, she is appointed. Planning Board report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call for Mr. Dervin Spell. He is our senior planner in our planning department, and he's going to give you an overview of the recommended changes to our Unified Development Ordinance, and ask that you call for a public hearing at your July meeting.
Go right ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening.
The purpose of Unified Development Ordinance Text Amendment Case Number UDO TA 424 is to correct areas in the ordinance where there were clerical errors, clarify areas in the UDO that were ambiguous, as well adjust sections of the UDO to make its application more practical for the county. The planning board voted 7-0 with one abstention to forward the attached Unified Development Ordinance text amendment request to the Board of County Commissioners with favorable recommendations. The vote excludes UDO Section 2.3.6E, Conservation Subdivision, and 4.3.17 campgrounds, which will be discussed at a later date. Per the planning board bylaws, a vote abstaining counts as an affirmative vote. The requested action, planning staff requests that the Board of Commissioners call for a public hearing for the UDO text amendments for your July meeting.
Let me ask, now, as I read this, the petitioner is staff, is that correct? Okay. Now, this is where the staff reviewed the UDO,
Yes.
and you're making this is corrective action of the UDO. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, the majority is corrected action because over the year, staff noticed items like numbers, that's all that needs to be corrected. So the majority of the corrections are clerical errors that staff have found.
Okay, because, kind of had to read it about 3 times to get some understanding, in terms of understanding what we were actually doing here, okay? But if these are staff recommendations. Any other questions before we get a motion on this? Is to call for a public hearing. Is there a motion? What was it? On what date?
At your July 1st meeting.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The public hearing is called. Thank you, now.
Thank you.
After list and releases for review and approval, any questions that the board has? If not, is there a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Contracts for review, anything to be brought to our attention, Mr. Evans?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman. You have descriptions for those there in your packet.
Is there a motion to approve? Second?
Second.
Questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go right ahead.
Do we know how many bids we received for non-emergency medical transport?
Let's see. So we are actually going out to bid for that now. And so So Tar River Transit and Flovi, I can't recall how many we received last year when we contract with Flovi, so this will be extending existing contracts. We've published a request for proposals to consider new companies moving forward, and that was just published, so we've not received any yet. But these are.
So we're just extending them while we have a request for proposal. So this is a short-term extension or for
Yes.
another year?
Yes,
This is not for a year. This is not for another year.
this will be for a year, yes,
This
sir.
is
So
not-
the others
we
will
are-
be moving.
We are
forward.
renewing that contract then.
So then what are we requesting for proposal for 2025?
Yes. Mhm.
We had 4 that came in and showed interest, and then she put out
Yes.
for them to complete everything.
Any other questions? I did get a motion. Did I get a motion?
Yes, sir.
All in favor, let it be known by a vote sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, it is approved. Department reports for review. Anything, any questions from water and sewer or the monthly financial? Any questions from water and sewer? Hearing none, monthly financial.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call Ms. Linda Barfield, our CFO, forward to give you an overview of our monthly financial summary.
Good evening, Commissioners. In terms of revenues for the general government, we have collected approximately 79% of our revised budget. Some of the key highlights are that our ad valorem taxes are performing exceptionally well at 97% collected. Our sales, service, and fees are also strong at 92% collected. However, you'll notice that some of our intergovernmental revenues, like DSS, revenues appear to be lower than expected due to their reimbursable nature. So once we receive all reimbursements, we expect to see a more balanced financial picture there. In terms of expenditures, the general government has expended 77% of its budget, and public safety has used about 83% of its budget. As we approach the close of the fiscal year, we're going to do continuous monitoring and make timely adjustments to ensure that we have a smooth year end. In our enterprise funds for water and sewer, the water and sewer revenue collection stands at about overall 71%. It's influenced by the practices of distributing revenues to the districts at year end, which can make the actual figures appear a little lower throughout the year. If we're just factor in operations and collections, we're about 91% collected, so that's indicating that we're on track in water and sewer. But we'll continue, as with the general government, to monitor those funds to ensure that we have a successful fiscal year end. In terms of solid waste, you'll notice that the expenses do slightly outweigh revenues this month. The solid waste largest revenue sources, although they are performing well, particularly the landfill tipping fees and the rural collection fees in terms of what we're collecting. Of course, the largest expenses for the landfill also is tipping fees and regular salaries, but all of those lines are performing well within their budgets. So as a repeat of what I said, we'll continue again to monitor all of our funds to ensure that we're ready for the year end and that we do have a smooth transaction. Also happy to report tonight that our auditors will be on site starting in June. So this is new for us. They're coming early and hope to finish in early. So work is already begun. We've already got information that we need to collect and have ready for them in June. So that my team and I have been working on that already. So we're hoping this year is going to be the one. Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
How about sales tax? I think,
Sir,
did I miss the sales tax? Or did we hold our own on sales tax?
did we hold our own in sales tax?
Yeah,
Yes, they're still
continue to improve.
they're still performing above what we budgeted. So the forecast is that we're going to receive more than we budgeted, which is a good thing. So they're still performing well as far as we can see.
Any more questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Manager's report, Ms. Evans.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you have on what I have there in the manager's report. I will note that we've been doing the Open Door to Edgecombe series. I didn't do it tonight because I knew the long budget presentation, but I'll be picking that back up next week.
Any questions from the manager? Hearing none. Anything from commissioners?
I just wanted to make sure that everybody had taken a look at, we have Commissioners Advocacy Day at the General Assembly coming up. Let's see, on June the 11th, you should have gotten emails a month or so ago. We have a dinner reception at the Raleigh Marriott Center, where our legislators will be there. Then on the next day, we actually go down to the General Assembly. So it used to be that they would have a lunch, and then you walk down to the General Assembly, but now they're having a dinner the night before, so that you can talk with your legislators. They invite them all to come. And then we go down to the General Assembly the next day. So hopefully some of you have already registered to attend. If not, you still have time. We also have our steering committee meetings are gonna be scheduled the same day, so we don't have to go 2 separate days. So I'll be
And it's
there.
June, what is it, June?
June 11th. So I'll be there June 11th for our human services as well as our education steering committees, since I serve on both of those. Then we will have that dinner starts at 6 and legislative program at 7, and then we'll go the next day down to the General Assembly.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Anybody else?
I'd just like to say, I would like for us to consider looking at a early pay program in our tax collection. I mean, we budget 96% collection. Really like to get those numbers up. I think that this year we're at 97%, but if we could find some ways to incentivize, and that only helps. I mean, it helps citizens that are paying their taxes on time and doing it, just seeing kind of what that program would look like.
And that being one where they get some kind of discount if they pay early is what you're saying.
And maybe reaching out to Pitt County and seeing how it works for them, if they like the program, if they, how that all works. But I think it's something that,
I don't think we hear the objection from the board on
That's a
that.
thought, yeah.
Pitt and Durham does it, and Durham says it works very well for them. They give a 2%, if they pay within the 30 days after they get it. And
I
that
think we
works.
have a large number that pay that quickly, from my understanding. And so it incentivizes them particularly, but it also brings in more people to that.
Do we have any such incentive now?
We don't.
haven't? Yeah, okay. Well, I think it appears to be a consensus with the board that
We'll certainly research that.
do that, look at that.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Attorney?
Yes, sir.
Hearing none. I'll just see a number of people in the audience. Did you come for any reason that was not addressed before we close out this meeting, because we're getting ready to close out and go into an executive session?
We don't have anything for closed session tonight.
You don't have anything for closed session?
Not unless you want to.
Okay. You had a comment, sir, please?
I'm Michael Proctor. I live at 2749 Horse Mill Run Road. The question to you, what are y'all doing about that generator out there? Man, how long had it run? How much y'all made money? No, you already know. Does it run?
It does not run it. No, sir.
Why we spending money? Every month we pay a internet fee. Why are we paying it? We're not running it.
What's the
What'd you
question?
say?
What's the question? I'm
Generator
sorry,
at
I'm
the
not.
The generator
generator
at
at
the
the
landfill. It's not run, ain't run, never made a dime.
No, it has
It's made money in the early years.
Sir, you take the paper, pull it out, show it to me, 'cause I don't believe it.
Okay, all right.
But what we'll do, we'll have a manager, please look at that. If it needs to be cut off or address that question, we'll have an answer for that question, okay?
Yes, sir.
Was anything, anybody else that, out there that maybe something was not addressed at the board that you want to raise a question with? You ready to close us out? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Question? All in favor, let it be known by a vote sign aye. Aye. All opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Wow.
It's still light. I'm gonna run home.
Let me take a picture of the clock.
I know, I have